Normally it would be a school day, but your boy is not going to school. We're going all the way to Europe. We made it! Let's go! Top 10 experience right here. I'm not taking any checked baggage, so week's worth of stuff in my carry-on luggage right here. These are both Swiss Gear bags. Swiss Gear did not send this backpack, but they did send this suitcase, so shout out to you guys for that. Thank you. Come here. Good girl. Good girl. What a beautiful morning. Alright, we're on the road to Dallas. We're flying out of DFW instead of Lubbock because it was cheaper. But we got 24 hours worth of travel ahead. This is Zeke.
Let's go.
Just me and him going. And yeah, it's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go. America. So a little background on this trip. I decided to go to Europe for a few reasons. The first one was I'm graduating college and thought it would be a cool experience to have. And the second reason is I just wanted to try something new, and I'd heard it wasn't that expensive. Alright, we're about 3 hours into the drive. We've got 2 more until we get to DFW. How are we feeling?
The last few hours in America.
Ready to go to Europe? Let's go.
Before this trip, I'd been in a plane maybe like 5 times in my life, and so I knew it'd be a huge jump going from that to an international flight in like 6 flights in 1 week, but it was a challenge I wanted to take.
Hey, just pulled up to the airport.
We're ready.
My boy Zeke laughing at me. This place is massive. Never been in DFW before.
To me, the biggest challenge of international travel was the fact that I had never done it before, and so it was really good that I was able to go with someone who had and save me some of the trouble I might have had on my own. My biggest fear was not being able to sleep on the plane and being tired the whole trip.
How are we feeling?
Ready to knock out.
First international flight, 9 hours to London, and we'll see how this goes. You gotta hit the ninja walk.
Ready to all your bags, boy?
The boys are in the plane. Everybody ready for takeoff. I got stopped twice at security for something, and then my bag wouldn't shut, so we're off to a great start. Let's get it. Got a water bottle, some kind of pasta, that, and then nice looking salad.
The flight to London wasn't too bad after all. It was a total of like 9 or 10 hours, so it was definitely a long flight, but the food wasn't horrible, and I was able to get about 4 hours of sleep, watch a couple movies, and before I knew it, we were already in London. The primary issue was that we left Dallas at 3:20 and got to London at 6:40 a.m., so we were starting a whole new day by the time the day in America was over, so that made it pretty difficult, but we weren't done yet.
Already made it to Heathrow Airport in London. It was kind of a long flight on that first one, but we're about to board our flight to Barcelona, so getting closer to our final destination. Honestly, it hasn't been terrible so far. A lot of traveling, but it's part of it going across the world. Got me some water.
Do not inflate your life jacket until you are outside of the aircraft.
So the very first thing I noticed on day 1 of leaving America was that, for one, all the airports are pretty similar in the fact that they all have the same purpose and information, but 2, the food is a lot different than the US. Everything seems more fresh and it's not packaged or processed, and so that part was cool. Even in the airport, stuff was pretty good.
It's been a long day of travel. Bro's sleeping.
Not sure if you could tell in that last clip, but every airport and shop we went into plays American music for the most part, and so it's pretty cool to see that American culture is influencing a lot of the world. There was even a Donald Trump sign in the Zurich airport, so that was funny. But once we got to Zurich, things definitely started to change. Once we landed in Switzerland, we took the train from the Zurich airport to the city, which is where we were staying the night, and it was pretty cool just to use public transportation to get around and see the city that way. I know there is public transportation in the US, but I don't ever use it, so it's cool to see other countries and what they use.
We made it! Let's go! 27 hours of traveling later. We're finally in Zurich.
So an important tip is when you land in the country you're going to, if there's a huge time difference like there was in this case, it's important to not go to sleep until like you would actually want to go to sleep at night, because if you go to sleep right when you get there, you're just going to wake up in the middle of the night and not be tired.
Yo.
In Europe's smallest elevator.
Got the tiny elevator. You can't tell because this camera's wide, but it looks really shoulder here. But, you know, it's fun.
Morning number 2.
So our first full day in Europe was in Zurich, Switzerland, and as you can tell, they are speaking German, but they also speak English, so that made it really nice buying stuff and being able to get around pretty easily. If you had to research one thing before you went, research the public transportation.
Alright, we're on the train headed to Lucerne. We're gonna go see Mount Pilatus, I think is what it's called. But I'm on a train right now. It's got like an hour train ride, I think. But we can get some good views out the window. So while I was in Switzerland and really just all the countries we went to, I was trying to be mindful of who I was filming because I could tell no one really wanted to be on camera and they were just minding their own business. But I also wanted to capture the amazing views of Switzerland because that's the primary reason people go there to begin with. But it was a lot of fun and I got a lot of pictures, so I'll throw some of those up here in a little bit. Trains are crazy. Sadly, the day we were in Switzerland, it was overcast all day long, so we didn't get to see how it looked on a clear day, but clearly it was very beautiful. Alright, we're headed to Mount Pilatus. This place is crazy. I'm about to move here. They don't even have to lock up their bikes here. They already know it's safe. It's chilling. Welcome to the sun. Feels pretty good out here. It's like 30 degrees. We got some nice overcast weather. For my first country leaving the United States, Switzerland's pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. They got just some casual crazy views. This place seems like it's out of a fairy tale. Highly recommend Zurich, Switzerland if you're gonna travel. It's expensive, but it's worth it. So that train took us from Zurich to Lucerne, which is where Mount Pilatus is at. Once we got there, we made our way to the gondola station at the base of the mountain, which took us all the way up to the top. Woohoo! Guten Tag. This thing's about to shoot us up there. Yo. Alright. Oh, this thing is epic. This thing is sending us up there real quick. Hey buddy. Top 10 experience right here. Mount Pilatus in Lucerne, Switzerland. Get to ride this epic cable car all the way to the top of this mountain. It's already looking pretty nice. They just grow stuff on top of their houses here. As someone who hadn't spent a ton of time in the mountains, coming straight for the Swiss Alps was really cool because the views from this gondola were amazing. There were trees, fog, and you went up through the clouds to get up to the mountaintop. I'm Mount Pilatus right now. It's really nice up here. They even have a hotel back behind me, which is pretty cool that you can stay up here. But check out these views. Doesn't even look real. So crazy. Here are a few of my favorite pictures from up here and just Switzerland in general. I think one thing you'll notice is a lot of these pictures just capture the natural beauty of the area, from the mountains, trees, buildings, whatever it is. It just was a really pretty place and definitely somewhere I will try to go back to in the future. Yeah, pretty much. You just take a little tram up here. It takes about probably 30 minutes to get all the way up here. But once you're up here, you can just hang out for as long as you want. It's really nice. But you can also stay in this hotel, literally on this side of the mountain. So that'd be really fun, but probably a little bit expensive if I was to guess. 4-star hotel, looks like. Got places to eat out here. You got snow all over the ground. There's walkways. And of course, a huge mountain. The other cool thing is, I don't know if you can see, but like down here, that's all cloud cover, not like flat snow. So we're really high up. You can just see all the clouds that we're above. Also, a side note, the main language spoken here is German, but most people here understand English pretty well. So you shouldn't have a problem if you only speak English and you want to come here, because I don't speak a lick of German and we're doing good so far. One of the major reasons I decided to take this trip is, for one, I was a senior and haven't really gone anywhere crazy, so I thought it'd be really fun. But two, there's just so many cool places in the world to go see, so while you're young and have time to do it, highly recommend, because this place is incredible. The main argument's always, oh, it's too expensive. Well, yeah, it may be pretty expensive, but you can't buy these views anywhere else. It's crazy up here.
We stayed up here for a few hours and then decided to head back to Zurich before it got dark because we're on a pretty tight time schedule, but a lot of fun, highly recommend.
All right, we're about to head back down, but last look at these crazy views before we leave. Really cool stuff up here. Mount Pilatus, Switzerland. Y'all definitely need to pull up if you come to Switzerland.
I think what I enjoyed about Zurich and Lucerne the most was the vibe of the city. There was a lot of families there. It was a very calm, peaceful environment, and everyone was just kind of enjoying their day. It can be very freeing to just relax and enjoy God's creation without having to worry about work or school or whatever else. I'll throw up a few pictures from our time in Zurich that evening, but that about wraps up day 2 of the trip. On to the next country. You have 2 types of trips. You can either go on a vacation or you can go on an exploration where you get 0 sleep and travel, which is what we did. For my first trip to Europe as a young kid, highly recommend. If you're trying to relax,
Leaving Switzerland, headed to the Netherlands.
Bye, Hotel Limitav. As you can tell, it's 5 a.m. and we're trying to catch a flight.
We're gonna miss our bus, train, whatever it's called.
At least we're not missing the flight.
Yeah. We're sprinting through the street to Switzerland. Or Zurich. Try not to break my suitcase in the process.
This may look like a lot of fun, and it was, but over the course of a few days, it adds up.
We might make it, we might not. Good thing is there's trains like every 15 minutes. Yeah.
About to miss a train.
Missing our train, let's get it.
Luckily for us, the Zurich train station is only about 10 minutes away from the Zurich airport, so it didn't cost us much money and we were able to get to the airport pretty quickly. Also, be prepared because Discover is very hit or miss in Europe, so don't rely solely on that.
Early mornings for travel, but that's how you make the most of your time here. You gotta, early mornings, late nights, you got like 4 hours of sleep, but hope it's worth it.
In the long run, yes, totally worth it. In the short run, as you'll see in just a little bit, no. Another thing I didn't think of before I left was that other countries don't celebrate Thanksgiving, so they had all their Christmas decorations out and it looked pretty cool. I didn't do a great job of showing what food we ate while we were in Switzerland, but this is kind of the gist of how everything was. There was fresh bread everywhere, and there's these little markets you can go in and get pastries, bread, whatever you wanted. Here was one of the meals one night. It was some chicken, a pretzel, and then these fish sticks. Another day I had a coffee and a sandwich, and then one meal we had some schnitzel, some fries, some sausage. A lot of good food, a lot of German influence on their food, so that was kind of what we had in Switzerland.
Made it to the Netherlands, let's get it. 6 a.m. flight, it was definitely not worth it, but we're here now. I'm gonna make the most of it.
I say it was not worth it, not because it wasn't fun, but because I was already partially sick, and no sleep definitely made the sickness stay around longer. And 2, if you're really tired, you can't fully enjoy everything because you're about to fall asleep standing up. But overall, it wasn't that bad. Getting up early did give us more time in the places we went to. Got to see a lot more things and crammed a whole lot of stuff into 1 week of travel. I will say having to take public transportation everywhere makes me grateful for the cars we have in Texas because we don't have to wait very long to go anywhere. We can just hop in our car and go. However, I will say Amsterdam was really cool because everyone there rides bikes and there's very few people who rely on cars to get around. And so once we were in the actual city, you saw people everywhere riding bikes, and that was kind of the main way to get around. We went and dropped our stuff off at the Times Hotel. This is where we stayed, and then we headed to a cafe to get some food. After that, we walked to a bike rental place to this really friendly guy who rented us some bikes for a day. I highly recommend doing this because everyone here rides bikes, and so to get the full experience, you have to do it. The next thing we did is we went to the Rijksmuseum. That's definitely not how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it because I don't know how to say it, and they had a lot of cool stuff.
We're in the city square, kinda. Dom Square, something like that. It's pretty cool. A lot of big buildings, a lot of people around. All kinds of people walking around here. Kinda chaotic, honestly, but gives you that big city feel for sure. I'm not even gonna lie, just took a big fall on this bike. My tire got stuck in the little tram thing. Kinda flipped over the front of it, but nothing got broken. No camera equipment broke, so we're all good. Vibes are up, and this place is pretty cool. Amsterdam's got it all. And too much. There's an amazing something over here, so it's pretty cool. Let me show you. The old buildings here are unmatched. Stuff is like really incredible. I think some of these buildings have been here for like several hundred years, so probably longer than America's been around, but really cool. A lot going on here at night. As you can see, it's like Well, it's only 8:30, but it's been dark for like 4 hours, so it feels a lot later than it really is. But Amsterdam's a cool place, a lot bigger than I thought it was originally. But you know, it's been fun. So we'll see how the rest of our time here goes. Not sure what's going on back there. Main form of transportation, these trains right here. But you gotta pay for them like a certain way through an app, and we didn't do that at first, so it was kind of awkward. We just got on, didn't pay, but we paid before we got off, so it was all good. All right, we're at St. Nicholas Basilica here in Amsterdam. Really cool. I'm excited to go to the one in Barcelona in a few days. I'm not sure where that's at or what it's called, but this one's really cool. A lot of good architecture here. Pretty much everywhere you go, there's gonna be old buildings, old architecture, and just quite a bit to do. So Amsterdam is definitely worth checking out.
Everywhere we traveled in Europe seemed pretty safe. Switzerland was the most safe feeling in my opinion, but Amsterdam had a few sketchy areas. We tried to avoid those and didn't really get into any crazy situations. So if safety is one of your main concerns about going to Europe, I wouldn't let it keep you from going. I would say just use some common sense and don't put yourself in any environment that could be dangerous, such as late at night in dark alleys. But if you stay in the main areas with the touristy stuff and just kind of keep your belongings close to you, you should be good for the most part. To wrap up our first night in Amsterdam, we got some gelato at this shop called Amarino, and it was really good. Definitely a good way to end the night. So for our second day in Amsterdam, we came to this cafe called Lorenz, and they have a lot of really good croissants. I got the strawberry one you see right there. The whole vibe of the area we stayed in was really nice. We weren't in the loud part of the city, so it was just a chill environment with the canals running right through the streets. Overall, just a great place to hang out in the mornings, especially when everything's kind of calm and everyone's getting a start to their day. To me, Amsterdam was a city that seemed the most like how people describe Europe back in the US. It seemed like there was a very slow pace of life. People were just enjoying their mornings and going about their day.
We're at this really cool windmill place, about 20 to 30 minutes from the Amsterdam. Took a train over here. It's really cool. They got windmill houses everywhere, and these really cool old-looking buildings back here. So, really cool experience. Probably a little bit of a tourist trap, but one we're willing to do for sure. Some of these places are so nice and quiet. I don't want to like ruin the vibe by vlogging because they're just so peaceful. Everyone's just so chill. But I'm still trying to get some of this on video so I can show you guys what it's like to be here. The Netherlands has been really cool so far. By the way, this lens is a 10 to 18 Sigma lens. Really good for vlogging like this. This is full frame, so it's not like gonna be as tight on a crop sensor, but it's a crop sensor lens, so it's nice to get that vlogging angle. I'm really glad we came to this place because it was a lot different experience than we got being in the city, and it allowed us to see some of the beautiful nature that is in the farming area of Holland and the Netherlands. To me, this trip was all about trying to get different experiences and see how people live their life in different countries of the world. And to me, this was one of the most cool places to be just because there was a lot of history, and I know this is kind of like a touristy museum area, but it was a really cool experience to see how life used to be lived, how they're doing it now, and to get to experience some of that culture for myself. We got to walk around and taste a bunch of different kinds of cheese, which was pretty fun, and then we also got to go into this little clog shop and watch how they make wooden clogs, which is not really what they wear, but an iconic part of Holland. Thank you. Goat cheese. Cheese tasting for free in here.
Another thing I thought was really cool about this trip was listening to people speak in different languages pretty much in every country we went to, and I know we get that a little bit here in America, but it's totally different when you're immersed in that environment and that's all you hear every day.
Holland.
I don't think I was recording the whole time.
After we got done looking around, we went to the local McDonald's to see what they had on the menu, and they actually had some shrimp, so I went ahead and ordered some of that, and it was actually pretty good, surprisingly. The nuggets seemed like they had a little bit different taste. Maybe that was just in my head, but the Coke sizes were also a lot smaller than the US, so that's just one way they're a little bit healthier than we are. So on our way back to Amsterdam, the trains did take a little bit longer to get there, so that's one thing about public transportation is you do have to wait sometimes 15 to 20 minutes for a train to come. But it is pretty cheap and relatively easy to use, so just keep that in mind when you're traveling. You don't have to rent a car, you don't have to Uber everywhere, because that gets really expensive really quickly. Also, just to mention, the majority of the back half of this vlog was shot on my iPhone because I did get a little bit lazy and stopped getting my camera out to record everything, especially since I was doing photo and video. But you know, the convenience that it offers and the quality, it's honestly pretty good, and you can do a lot of vlogging and stuff like that with just a phone, so don't feel like you have to have a camera to do what I'm doing on this trip. For our last few hours in Amsterdam, we walked around the streets and then went to a few shops we wanted to see before we had to head to the airport. I did get a couple snacks, and it's funny because all the names are different than America. I didn't record a whole lot more in the airports because, like I said, my camera was put away. Alright, we're about to leave the Netherlands, got through airport security, and we're now headed to London for a few days, and then we're gonna come back to Barcelona, and then go back to London to fly home. So we'll see how that goes. About to hit a flight. Let's get it.
The cancel flight, boys. Yeah, you haven't been vlogging
Cancel
at all.
flight.
You should have vlogged that whole thing.
I know.
2 months, it'll be fun. We'll be like, bro, remember when we got stranded?
Our flight got canceled at 8. We chilled in the airport for like 2 hours. Now they're giving us a free hotel room. Canceled flights are never fun, especially when you're anticipating being in a different city at night. But it honestly worked out about as good as possible because the hotel gave us some dinner, and then the airline reimbursed us a good amount of money for the time we lost. So luckily they got us on an 8 a.m. flight the next day to London, so we didn't waste a whole lot of time with the canceled flight, and we got to see this really cool sunrise from the plane, so that was pretty much a win in my book. Here's a little tip: if you get this travel card in London, do not put it next to your phone because it will demagnetize the strip on the back, and you'll have to ask an employee to let you through every single time you go on the subway, so don't do it. I did it the moment we landed in London, and it was the most annoying thing. Hey, my name's Hunter. Welcome to my crib. Alright, we got twin beds, nice small space. We got the bathroom in here. Really cool looking shower. It's kind of small, but you know. We got toilet, all the essentials. We got a nice window overlooking some random stuff. But yeah, we didn't come here to stay in the room. We came here to explore London, so let's get it. Alright, we're on that cringe marathon right now. You wanna see how cringy we can be? These are those KO stairs. You take one bad step, you're getting knocked out.
Hold up. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Typically, I'm not a huge fan of big cities, but London actually surprised me because the people there are very polite, and it was overall just a great experience.
This dude turns the exposure down on every picture.
Since we were only in London for a couple days, we had to make the most of our time there, and we left our hotel and went ahead and checked out some coffee shops nearby, then hopped on the subway and went to check out a few of the main locations. Alright, so we're here at the Tower Bridge. Really cool bridge right here. I haven't really seen very many big bridges before because I don't really go to a whole bunch of big cities, but this one is really got some cool architecture, got just a lot of history here, so it's cool seeing that. And then behind me over here we got the Tower of London, I believe is what it's called, over here, and that looks really cool as well. It looks like a fortress. Definitely looks like it's been here for several hundred years, so a lot of really cool architecture, a lot of cool stuff. We didn't get in until this morning to London because our flight got canceled last night, so that was annoying. But now that we're here, we're gonna try to get as much done as we can and go on to the next thing, so let's go. So obviously in England they speak English, and I feel like that just made it easier to get around and talk to people, and also they just seemed a little bit friendlier in England than they did in the other countries we went to. I'd imagine that's probably because there's a lot of tourists in London at all times, and they're probably used to it, and we didn't stick out as much, but it still just seemed like a little bit more friendly place than the other places we went. Also, important tip, this right here is a tourist bus. There's other buses that run, and this was the right bus number, but this one was technically an old bus, so they charged us, which I thought was kind of stupid, but make sure you keep an eye out for stuff like that because it is a very touristy place. Alright, I got me a hot dog out here. Got a lot of food options, so that's really cool. And then we're right beside St. Paul's Cathedral. So, really cool monument out here. A lot of cool things to see and a lot of good food. So,
London has been great so far.
We knocked out everything we wanted to see in London in about 2 days, and I wouldn't recommend doing this if you're not a big walker, but if you enjoy walking, then go up for it, because we walked about 12 to 15 miles each day, and it's a lot of walking, but it's a lot of fun. We went to the British Museum, which was super cool, but I'm not going to put a lot of it on here because you just need to go for yourself. To wrap up the night, we spent some time in Chinatown.
Low-key been slacking the vlog today. I've been too tired. Been a walking zombie since we got out of that museum. But right now we're in Chinatown in London. So we're gonna see what food they have, see what shops they have, and I'm gonna try to enjoy the rest of the night before I go to sleep.
I can't remember what this restaurant is called that we ate at, but it was really good food. It was some noodles and some beef, and they were screaming at you to order really fast, and they got you in and out of there as quick as they could, so you know it was good food. But after that, we walked down to the pier, saw the London Eye, and then also saw Big Ben, which we walked up on in a second. We also ate at this place called the Chicken Shop, which is apparently famous, and they serve some really good fried chicken, so I was kind of surprised with how good it was. After that, we just tried to enjoy the rest of the night and went to go see Big Ben up and close, so that was pretty cool. But that was the end of night 1 in London. Alright guys, it's day 2 of London, day 6 of the trip. I was really tired yesterday, so I didn't vlog as much as I wanted to, but I'm going to try to do more of that today and show you guys a little bit more of London. We did a lot of fun stuff yesterday, kind of hit a lot of the touristy areas with the Tower Bridge, Tower of London. We went and saw Westminster Abbey last night, and the Buckingham Palace and Big Ben, but I think we're going to go back to some of those today and maybe go inside of them. But a lot of cool things here to do, a lot going on, and this is our last full day here. Tomorrow we leave out at like 6 a.m., so gonna kind of have a little bit of an early night, but we have all day to explore, so let's go ahead and see what else London has to offer. As you can imagine, with any bigger city, there's a lot of streets that are quieter and calmer, and this is the street we stayed on, so it's actually really nice. This is like in the Hammersmith area, but I'm walking that way, and there's a lot more going on. Last night we went to a bunch of different places. Red bus. And one of the areas we went to was Chinatown, as you saw in the video, and there were just people everywhere. That was probably one of the more chaotic places I've been in, but it was a lot of fun. We got some good food, got some beef and noodles, and yeah, it's cool that you can be in the middle of what's going on if you want to, and if you don't, you can go to other areas, and it's all extremely safe, so that's nice too. To start off the second morning, I was still feeling kind of sick, so I kind of had a late start and didn't get out of the hotel until about 9:30, but I went to this coffee shop and it was actually really good. I drank so many cappuccinos on this trip. That's pretty much the only coffee I had, that, and then I had a muffin for breakfast, but it was just nice to enjoy the morning and not have to be running around doing something every second. I love this wide angle lens. You can like get everything in the picture, and I'm not even having to hold it that far from my body. I walked around a little bit paranoid the whole trip because I'd heard that pickpocketing is a big deal in Europe, and I was scared that someone was going to snatch my camera and just run away, but honestly I didn't deal with that much at all. I'm definitely not trying to say it doesn't happen, because I'm sure it does, but like I said earlier, if you're taking the precautions you need to and you're being careful, I think traveling to the countries we went to especially is really safe. I think this neighborhood around the Imperial War Museum was probably my favorite because the colors of the trees and everything around the whole area was just really nice and calm. It was definitely a lot quieter than other areas. It took about 45 minutes, but we made it from the hotel over here to the Imperial War Museum, so it's gonna be pretty cool. Gonna see a lot of different things, including probably American history in here, so that's kind of cool. But it only costs about £2.50 to get over here on the subway or the tube, and it's not too bad. It took about 45 minutes, like I said, but it's like halfway across London, so not a terrible mode of transportation. And now that we're here, let's see what it has to offer. So once again, with this museum, I didn't video much inside, and I didn't put any of it on this video because the main experience is seeing it for yourself, but it is really cool to learn about history, especially World War II, which I think is extremely interesting. After we got done at the museum, we headed over to Borough Market, which I thought was a lot of fun because there's just so many food options, and we don't really get stuff like this in Lubbock, Texas very often. Borough Market, a lot of people here. It's about lunchtime. The museum was pretty cool, but they didn't let me video, so no videos from that. But this market looks pretty cool. There's food, shops, stores,
So I'll probably get some lunch here and then look around for a little bit. After walking around and looking at our options for a little bit, the first thing we decided to get was a sandwich from the Black Pig, and let me tell you, this was one of the best sandwiches I've ever had. It consisted of some shredded pork, some lettuce, 2 different sauces, some onions, and then 2 pieces of ciabatta bread, and it was so good. When we walked up, there was a very long line, but they were really efficient and got the line moving pretty quickly. It's kind of crowded, but it's a cool setup because everyone can just sit on these steps and watch the crowd as they eat. Our next stop was to get fish and chips, and I'm not a huge fish fan, but it was actually pretty good and shocked me a little bit. And then we got some risotto across the street from this dude. And what's a trip to Borough Market without paying for some overpriced strawberries just because they're drizzled in some chocolate? They were really good, but they definitely weren't worth the $7 or $8 we paid for it, so just keep in mind the prices here are just going to be ridiculous. For the afternoon, we did a little bit more exploring of London. We went to Westminster Station, and then right outside they were doing a memorial service for veterans who had passed away, so that was kind of cool to watch. To end our time in London, we just walked around and saw a few more things, but we had to have an early night because, you guessed it, we had another early flight. Alright, we're in day 7 of the trip. We are in the London airport. It's currently 5 a.m. We had to wake up at about 3 o'clock this morning to get ready, so that was kind of crazy, but we're about to head to Barcelona, leave in London. I have a lot of fun in London, but it's time to go to the city. We did about pretty much everything you could do, or at least that we wanted to do, so it was a lot of fun. But we'll wrap up the trip in Barcelona. We'll be back here on our way home. As you can probably tell with my voice right there, this is the part of the trip that it really started to take a toll on me, not having any sleep and being partially sick. So my advice would be to you, if you're planning a trip, do not do the early morning flights because, yeah, they are cheaper and you do save a little bit of time, but it makes the whole rest of the trip a struggle to get through, so just keep that in mind when you're planning your flights. Alright, we made it to Barcelona. We're gonna walk around and go to this market, but I'm extremely tired, so I'm probably gonna take a nap here in a little bit. Been up since 3. It's now 11 a.m. and we're finally getting a start to the day.
Bro's drowning. He's drowning.
But I'm really struggling to stay awake because we got like 4 hours of sleep last night again. So we'll see how this goes. Well, I must say the streets of Barcelona were very interesting. We did see a guy peeing on the street in front of the whole entire city, so that was kind of funny, but they also had some really cool stuff like people just playing instruments and people outside just enjoying life. One thing Barcelona is not lacking is culture. There's plenty of culture, and it was really interesting to see the different aspects of how people live their life, none of which was more evident than when we visited this famous market near our hotel. We had heard about this market from a few people in London, and a lot of them spoke very highly about it and said it was better than the markets they had, and I would say it was a lot different in the fact that this one offered a different assortment of things, as you can see on screen. The London one seemed a lot more touristy, whereas this one seemed like it was the food that the people of the city eat, and you can see that with the ham and the fruit and the fish, and all of it was really good. I couldn't really decide what to get, but this dude was making the ham look really good, so I got some Iberian ham, and then I also got some steak and fries and some fish. Afterwards, we got a coffee in this little shop and then went to the hotel to take a nap. Alright, we're in the streets of Barcelona, walking around. We just got checked into our hotel and took a couple hours nap because we were too tired, but we're walking around now, gonna see if we can find some cool stuff to do and probably get some more food because lunch was real good. This right here was a bullfighting arena. We didn't go inside, but I'm sure it would have been really cool to see a bullfight while we were there. And we also didn't get to see any soccer matches, which I was kind of sad about. But luckily, we got to see my favorite thing of the whole trip, which was the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. This was my favorite thing we saw, and it was just awesome. For most of these cities, walking around at night is really when the city comes alive, so it was really fun to be able to do that in each of the cities we went to and just kind of take in the whole environment at night. Heading into the subways right now. Just stopped at a Spanish McDonald's to get some food. I tried to speak to the employees, but I didn't really understand what they were saying, so it just kind of sounded stupid. But
Bro ignored
he came in. Bro came in with some fake Spanish. Try to hear what they had to say, but we figured it out, got it ordered. Also, if you weren't aware, to use public transportation, you just buy a little pass at a machine, which does translate to English, and then you just slide it in the machine, it scans it, and then you can go through the turnstile, so pretty easy to use. Barcelona's been cool so far. Subways. Try not to get my camera heated. if you're graduating school and not ready to be a real grown-up, take a trip to Europe and go to grad school. CCTV. Train station in Barcelona. Girls talk to 1.5.
To wrap up the night, we headed to see this arch, which was actually a lot bigger than it looks like on camera. And then we went by the ocean and saw some Americans, so that was kind of cool. And then we got some food as we looked over the ocean.
Pizza looks good. Pizza margarita. All right, wrapping up first day in Barcelona and one more full day in Europe, and then we're heading home. So we're gonna hit that tomorrow, but great day today. Got a nap, so that helped save my trip. But walked around for a little bit, and we're gonna do more tomorrow. So I'll see you guys.
Bright and early the next morning, we went back to the Sagrada Familia to see it in the daylight, and it honestly looked amazing. It was great for photos and videos. Like I said, it was the highlight of my trip. The only thing that might have rivaled it was the Swiss Alps, which was also beautiful in a different way, but this building was massive.
We're here at Sagrada Familia. Really cool. Probably the coolest thing we've seen on this trip so far, at least in my opinion. But really cool architecture. And they're not even done building it yet. They'll be done in like 2 years, I think. So I'll have to come back sometime and see it again. But super cool views. Thing is massive in person. Probably like, I don't even know, 600 feet, 500 feet tall. But you gotta really look straight up to see the top of it. So let's see. You can kind of see the scale of it behind, but really cool experience. On to the next thing.
Every street we turned down seemed super aesthetic. I literally just stood here and held my camera, and it was really cool seeing the light rays come through that tree and get the beautiful colors of the building behind it. And then I'm not sure exactly what was on this escalator, probably red paint, but a little suspicious nonetheless. But at the top was this really long, steep street.
This is one of the steepest roads ever. This thing's almost like straight up and down. I don't know if you can tell, but we're walking to a park. Climbed up here to this area. Really good views of the city from up here, but we didn't buy tickets ahead of time, so we can't get into the park, sadly.
We stumbled across this old retro shop that had a lot of American things, so that was refreshing to see. We came across some writing on the wall that I thought was super fitting for why we were there and had to get some photos and video of it. And then I got a few other shots of some cool art that was advertising for these shops. Honestly, I'm just super content with how this trip turned out. I wouldn't change anything about it other than maybe not doing such early flights in the morning, but the variety of cultures and countries we got to see was incredible, and I highly recommend trying it if you're thinking about it.
All right, so behind me right here, we have the National Art Gallery of Spain. It's pretty cool how big the building is. We don't get this kind of architecture in the United States very much, so it's cool seeing it out here. And then behind me, we have the full city. You have the stadium, and then you have a bunch of other really cool buildings and just structures out there. But it's really cool seeing architecture here, because I feel like that's one of the main things about coming to Spain, is seeing all the nice buildings that they have built, because we just don't get that in the US. I don't know if you can see that back there. I'm extremely tired, so haven't been vlogging a lot today, but we're gonna try to go back to the hotel, get something to eat, and then finish the day out strong. I've been trying to capture everything on this Sony a7S III with a Sigma 24-70 lens. I've been doing photo and video. I know this isn't really like a photo camera, but still does pretty well with a good lens. And we've captured all the sights on this trip, so let me know in the comments what you guys think of the camera. Don't feel limited by your gear. If you have a video camera, you can still shoot photos with it most likely, and they're gonna be better than what your iPhone can produce 90% of the time. So go out and shoot with what you got. We're tourists, can anybody spot the tourists?
If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. This is gonna wrap up the last day of our trip. I didn't do a travel day because it was kind of pointless and I was extremely exhausted, so I decided not to. But I did have an absolute blast planning and going on this trip with my buddy Zeke. Shout out to him for helping me understand what it's like to live in Europe for a week. But I highly recommend doing a trip like this if you're interested in traveling abroad and learning about other countries. I'm considering making a video breaking down all of our costs from the whole trip so you can get a little bit better idea of what it's like to travel to Europe and how much it actually costs. So if you're interested in that, drop that down in the comment section below, and please drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing for hopefully more trips like this in the future. I will conclude the video with these Spanish people dancing, because what better way to close out a trip to Europe than experiencing it firsthand in the streets of Barcelona. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.